What up, people? Um, we are here to review The Crow, and not just review the movie. I'm gonna talk a lot about this. Just unfortunately, it was like the dark story. Obviously, not just in the movie. With what happened with Brandon Lee, who was Bruce Lee's son. Unfortunately, during one of the scenes, a lot of people I think have theorized it was the scene where he breaks in, where everybody starts shooting at him, where he got shot in real life because it was an accidental. I don't know the full story if someone accidentally put a real bullet instead of a prop bullet in there. It was one of those things, and he died. And it's a miracle they were even able to finish this movie. Like, honestly. And not just finish this movie, how incredible it is. They could have just as easily, you know what, canceled it and all that, and this could have just been a forgotten movie like a lot of others. But no, they still went for it, and fortunately, they made sequels, which I'm not going to review. I'm only reviewing the first one. So this is one of those movies, especially being like a metalhead. This movie is like almost a love letter to rock and metal. The amount of the people in the actual soundtrack, like Stone Temple Pilots, The Cure, Nine Inch Nails, Rage Against the Machine, Pantera, just a lot. And even some of the songs they play in the movie, like Stone Temple Pilots, they play in a scene. Like the scene where even Eric Draven himself was in a band, was just playing guitar just at random moments in the movie. It was awesome. Just you have Ernie Hudson, who's in my opinion a great character in this movie. He was like the human element. It was just this movie is really dark. So the base story is October 30th, the day before Halloween, Devil's Night. I never knew that. I'm looking at Wikipedia. I never knew this was set in Detroit. They never said the city name, so it was set in Detroit. Sergeant Albright, which is Ernie Hudson's character, is in Eric Draven's house. This is after his wife and his soon-to-be wife. Well, it's a pretty fucked up story. So his soon-to-be wife, um, I'm just gonna spoil what happens. So the story goes, his girlfriend, Eric Draven's girlfriend Shelly, lives in one of these apartments, I guess, which is ran by, because this is a city ran by gangs, almost Gotham like, in a little bit in that sense. Sorry about that, but fuck it, do it live. It always fucking happens. Anyway, never mind. I'll clean it after the video. So, Shelly was living in these apartments, which was ran by um, gangs who they broke in, beat her up, and raped her. Really fucked up story. He walks in, they kill him, throw knives at him, shoot him, and then throw him out of a building. So the movie starts off afterwards, where the cops are in, they're cleaning the scene, and then we get an arrival of a young girl named Sarah, who Eric and Shelly, I guess, she was a friend of theirs, and he unfortunately had to tell her, he died, and just the opening of this film is fucked up, like very dark. So we're jump to a year later, where we see Eric has awakens at his gravestone. While this is happening, we see that Sergeant Albright and Sarah kind of he almost watches over her. He's also been demoted because I guess he was investigating something he wasn't supposed to be. So he's been demoted. And we see Eric wake up from the grave, where we see this crow watching over him. He finally gets to his house, and this is where we all pretty much get the full on scope what happened. We see T Bird and his gang. You have Tintin, Fun Boy, really interesting names, and I think there's one more, and Skank, really interesting names. But so you pretty much see them murder him and Shelly. We kind of see a gist of what happens. Really, it's really fucked up. And then he starts seeing the crow, and he cuts himself and realizes he can heal. So slowly makes a suit, kind of like a suit, and puts on makeup. And this is the look that inspired Sting, the Sting we know now. Because in the '80s, just little useless knowledge here. Sting, in the '80s was like almost like a Hogan-like character with the bright paint, the bright colored paint. But when this came out afterwards, he became that Crow Sting, like very similar. So just little bits of knowledge there, wrestling knowledge there. So we see him become essentially the Crow. Just the music that's playing throughout the film, you'll hear the Cure song "Burn," which is I think it's a cover, but it's throughout the film. It's almost like it's his actual theme song. Just the little nods, like even a scene where you see the gang when they're driving in a car, you hear "Big Empty" by Stone Temple Pilots just playing, like just. So we see Tintin after delivering something at Gideon's is leaving. The Crow arrives and pretty much kills him, really brutally. Like you just see him like, and every single person who he's taking revenge on, what they did to him and Shelly, you kind of see their point of view of what they're. It's really fucked up. It's very like a fucked up thing. But in this movie, another thing this movie does well, the people you want to see fucking die, when they get their fucking comeuppance, man, it's like you're clapping. So Tintin gets killed by getting basically a bunch of knives thrown at him, and then throughout the film you see after Eric kills a guy, he like paints the crow some almost kind of probably where Daredevil the '03 movie got that whole shit from, was this movie. So he kills Tintin. Then this is where we're introduced to Gideon, where he owns like this shop that works with like the gang. So Eric attacks it and wants the ring that he gave Shelly. He finds it and then basically proceeds to blow up Gideon's. And this is where we're introduced to the actual villain of the movie. Trying to find the name. Top Dollar, I guess that's his name. He's the main villain of the movie, and yeah, he's kind of like a generic bad guy. Like it's not like the bad. He's like an amazing bad guy, and we learn that he's the one who's been causing everything to burn down. So after killing, um, we see that Albright sees Eric, but then Eric disappears. And then after that, Eric proceeds to he finds Fun Boy, who's dating Sarah's mother, who basically Sarah's a neglectful mother. It's all about drugs and doesn't care about her daughter. So he arrives at her house and kills Fun Boy. Basically, I think he makes him. He just shoves a bunch of heroin needles in him, basically makes him OD. And then you have this really awesome scene where Eric is talking to the mom, and is like basically telling, "No, you gotta get off these drugs to be a better mom." And there's like a scene where he touches her. You see like the drugs like coming out of her. Yeah, man, this movie is awesome, and just it's definitely not one you can watch all the time, for sure. So he kills Fun Boy, and then Top Dollar's like, I guess, henchman arrives and sees him and finds the body. Then we see T-Bird, who's like T-Bird, and I guess Skank are going to a liquor store. And while Skank goes inside, fucking the crow kidnaps T-Bird, drives him, causes a little bit of a chase, but then when they get to a pier, he kills T-Bird by blowing him up, and T-Bird's an explosives guy. So basically, the theme is he kills the people the way they're like Tintin's a knives dude, so he killed him with a bunch of knives. Fun Boy I think was like a drug guy, so he basically made him OD. So T-Bird, he killed him with explosives, poured gasoline on him. You just like every time he kills these motherfuckers, you cheer it on. It's like, so he does it, and then proceeds to find. Then we, this is where we learn that Top Dollar is running everything. He's talking to the other kind of gangs and tells them you gotta up the ante. The Crow arrives. You have a big kind of brawl. Pretty awesome scene too. Just him just killing motherfuckers. Top Dollar and his henchmen kind of disappear. And I think this is the scene where it's theorized where he got shot, in, unfortunately, in real life. So he fights them, fights these guys, kind of beats them all. Then you have like a big chase because the cops arrive. Then Sergeant Albright kind of helps him out and helps him escape. And then this is where Top Dollar learns that the way that they think to kill the crow is you gotta kill the actual crow. So they kidnap Sarah. You know, you gotta always have the traditional kidnap the little kid thing, you know. Or kidnap the daughter, wife, or whatever. So they do that, and then this is where we kind of have the final showdown. Sergeant Albright gets involved. He gets wounded in a fight. They think they killed the crow, but they didn't. So Top Dollar's, like, I guess female henchman, this Asian chick, steals it, and it ends up pecking her eyes out. This movie is brutal. Like, you actually see her eyes, like, just covered in blood. You can actually see they've been pecked out. Like, they went all out in the violence. But you're cheering it on because she's a fucking evil bitch, so you don't feel bad for her. Then Top Dollar and Eric have a final fight, and then Top Dollar thinks he has the advantage, and then Eric, basically, from earlier, who was discussing with Sergeant Albright, who tells him that Shelley was alive for basically in pain for 30 hours after what happened to her, and he was watching her the whole time, so he could see her pain. Because Eric can, like, he touched his head, and I guess he can kind of see his memories. And so he basically put Shelley's 30 hours of pain in Top Dollar, thus killing him and impaling him on a gargoyle. And then pretty much Eric disappears after that. And then you kind of have like a little bit, and then a scene where Eric's at Shelley's grave and they kind of kiss, and then the movie ends. Like, her ghost kisses him. Phenomenal fucking movie. This movie it has great pacing. It's shot well. I like the shots of the city. It does feel like a comic book movie, and it would have been awesome if this movie, unfortunately, like I said, what happened to Brandon Lee in real life really is what put the pause. Because if that didn't happen to Brandon Lee, this would have easily. Sorry about the helicopter. This could have easily been like a trilogy, and could have made him a superstar. There could have been 3 of these movies, but unfortunately, what happened? But it's a miracle this movie turned out incredible. And like I said, if you're a metalhead, listen to the fucking soundtrack. The soundtrack is phenomenal. And like I said, it's not a movie I can watch all the time. Some of the shit in there, I'm like, like I said, but I think it's a good movie if you want to cheer bad guys getting killed. If you like dark stories, I say watch it. Even if with what happened to Brandon Lee, I get it. There are people out there who can't even watch this movie after what happened. Just because it's just like, I get it. I don't blame them. But for me, it's just so good. I can watch this a lot. And I don't watch this like I've watched, like, let's say BVS or Man of Steel or something, but I can watch this if I'm in the mood for it, especially if I want to just listen to some metal music. And Brandon Lee was so awesome in this movie. He did a good job playing, like, that tortured soul, that lost everything. And Shelley, the actress, I think did a good job, even though she's not in the movie much. You see her in quick, like, little flashbacks. But you don't, get her full-on character arc. But, it's still awesome. It's still an awesome... The bad guys did a great job at... if you're cheering them on and wanting to see them get their fucking comeuppance, it's like, they did a good job there. I thought the bad guy for this movie worked. 10 out of 10. This movie's a 10 out of 10. This is I I remember a few years ago they wanted to reboot it with fucking Jason Momoa. It's just like you can't do that. You can't do that. Just this movie is like one Jason Momoa I don't think would have even been a right pick anyway, but after what happened, that was why the sequels didn't work because there were sequels. I think there was two of them. The reason why those sequels didn't work, it's not Brandon Lee. To me, this is his character. This isn't like a Batman or a Superman where the character's bigger than the actor. No disrespect to the actors that played them, but the characters are bigger than the actor because they have their own legacies. The Crow, I understand there was a comic before, but the movie is kind of what made him a known character. And in everybody, a lot of people's eyes, the Crow was Brandon Lee. That was it. No one else. And that's kind of where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Like, Brandon Lee was the Crow. I don't really want to see anybody else do it. After what happened to him, they should have just never. They should have just did this movie and then let it be a one-off. There was no reason to do a sequel. After what happened to Brandon Lee, why? I remember watching the second one and I think it was okay. I don't think the second one was complete trash or anything, but it was just it doesn't need to exist. To me, The Crow's a one-off. After what happened to Brandon Lee, and I know I said it could have had multiple movies. If what happened to Brandon Lee didn't happen, then yeah. But Brandon Lee to me was the Crow. There was no one else for that role. And it was awesome seeing Ernie Hudson in another role. I just think overall, like, there's nothing wrong with this movie. Like, it's just an all-around awesome movie. You really root for the bad guys to get their fucking asses whooped. And when they get fucking killed, man, I think my favorite kill of them all, Tintin's was pretty brutal. Like, even though you don't see him throw all the knives in him, you just see the body with just like a bunch of knives in him. It's like, oof. But I gotta say T-Birds, just because I felt like he was the most, like, fuck you, motherfucker. And when he dies, oh, it was fucking brutal. Dude gets fucking exploded. Well, because he already had explosives in his car. I think then Eric, poured oil on it and then put, like, a grenade. It was like, holy shit. Just all-around brutal movie. It almost is like The Punisher in a way, except instead of a whole family, it was just his girlfriend, and he has, like, powers. But, the whole same idea. But all around awesome movie. I'd advise anybody watch it. Even if you're not into super dark stories, just watch. This is a movie you gotta watch at least once. At least once. At least once. So I would give this movie a 10 out of 10. Definitely I would watch it again. It's on HBO Max right now. It's in the greatest quality. So I'm gonna take a hit and then kind of peace out. Tomorrow I'm gonna start the Alien franchise I'm reviewing the first Alien, then Thursday, Aliens, and then Friday, Alien 3. But the soundtrack for the Crow is so god tier. Like, just everybody in that soundtrack. And it's definitely, I would consider it a comic book movie. And I would say one of my favorite, like, non-DC Marvel comic book movies. So, The Crow's awesome. But, other than that, I'm going to take this hit. I want to say a quick fuck you to, as usual, Warner Brothers, Hank Azaria, Freddie Bitch Jr., and then SJW. So, other than that, hold on. I like this piece, man. The chicken's clogged. So, but yeah. Alright, guys. talk to you guys later. Peace. And my camera fell.